Hi, it's Megan.
And it's Bree.
And we just want to talk about TV.
Welcome to our podcast,
Unseriesous. Each episode, we're going to cover a TV show, new or old, and have a silly little conversation about it.
So grab a snack, get comfortable, and let's get unserious.
Megan and Julie in the morning.
That was silly.
Welcome back to our show. Today, I'm joined by Julia and Julia only.
We killed Brie.
That's true.
She's dead.
She has some dental stuff going on, and Julia very nicely decided to step in. And I know we said last week we were going to talk about Daisy Jones, but we will be talking about that soon.
Woohoo!
So today, we will get into a second. We'll be talking about Community, but I just want to check in. Julia, anything fun going on? Anything music related that you did that's exciting?
Oh, well, actually, I just saw Ed Sheeran on Saturday, and I feel like it really brought me back to, like, and maybe this isn't great, but, like, being into middle school and, like, early high school, because that's when I was, like, really into Ed Sheeran, and, like, I haven't really listened to any of his new music, but it's really good. Like, his new music is really, really good. So I'm in my Ed Sheeran era. So that it was amazing. We were in the last row, in the last seat, in the last section in Soldier Field, but
that's crazy. I was in the last row, maybe second to last, but for Hannah Montana.
It was so amazing, though. Like, it was still so amazing. And Jade, who I went with, who has been on this podcast in the past, was like,
the show.
This is the best seat in the house. I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. Because you could see Navy Pier, the Navy Pier fireworks, and the lake on the right side. And I was like, this is pretty good. Really and cool. Ed was down here like a little peanut, but it was good. It was fun.
That's so fun.
I actually just restarted Community. So that's fun.
That is fun.
Yeah. Speaking of the devil. And I also have set myself a 25 book goal for the year. Mm-hmm. So I'm making my way through that. I just bought Beach Read. And
one Emily Henry.
There's a new book by the author that wrote One Last Stop and Red, White, and Royal Blue. They just released a new book. So I bought that. It's coming in the mail hopefully soon because I'm dying without gay book. My job, gay book.
My job is just gay book.
Gay book, that's all it is.
I love that. I'm excited for you to start. You haven't read any Emily Henry, right?
Nope, this is my first one. I don't read a lot of, like, straight books just because I like to read stuff that I see myself in. Like, that's the type of content that I like to read. But I read the back, and I was really interested. So when I read it, I'll let you know how it goes.
For sure. I read her most recent one a couple months ago, so I talked about it on this podcast. And I'm like, I want to read. I feel like Beach Read and People We Meet on Vacation are obviously like summer books, so I want to reread them. And I really like Book Lovers too, which is her third book. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to reread them and try to rank them. But I think she's such a good writer too. I totally understand. Like, I think if she wrote like queer stories, they'd probably slay. But she also probably writes from maybe her POV. But she does have a lot of great side characters that are
and like. After reading it, I don't know how true this is, and don't say anything and don't make a face because I don't want to know, but, like, at the end of the, like, I know, I'm like, look away. At the end, it says, like, each finish a story and no one falls in love, period. Really, period. And I was like, I could get behind that. Like, I could get behind a story where maybe the main concept, even though it's the same platform and the same, like, genre, like, I could get behind two straight people not falling in love. Like, I could do that, but we'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. Because they could always fall in love with someone else. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm excited to read it, and I'm excited for, like, character building and relationships and scene setting. I've always really enjoyed that, so yeah.
Yeah, she's I think my favorite, like, at least rom-com out there. Like, she knows what she's doing.
Right. I've been reading a lot of cheesy books, and they're good for what they are. But I feel like I need a good solid foundation book where it's not just like, there's a girl and they meet and they kiss and you know what's going to happen and all that stuff. So
yeah. Like, I feel like similar to movies, there's like a hierarchy of like rom-coms where I feel like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Like, that's a high-tier rom-com versus, like, something that might be on Netflix versus something that might be on Hallmark.
Right, and there's a reason that we watch those, and there's a reason we read those, and that's so valid. But I've read, like, 5 of them in a row, so I'm ready to, like, break it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think I'm ready to start reading some more nonfiction books also, because I've been in my fiction era, so I'll keep you updated on that.
Yeah, definitely. I love a reading journey. I also have a goal to read 12 books this year, and I've read 2 or 3.
You could get it.
The year isn't over.
No, it's not. You could, especially during the holidays, especially when you're traveling, like, you can make it happen.
For sure. I watched something new recently. Brie and I sat down and watched Zoe 102. I know, I would have wanted to wait for you, but time was ticking and I knew I'd get spoiled. And do you want to hear the late breaking review? Zoe 102? Not that bad.
Okay.
I feel like I went in with really low expectations.
Okay.
And it wasn't like to the point of like we were just talking about there are tiers of movies. It's not like a Oscar award-winning movie by any means. But it was fun. And I don't want to spoil it because I definitely think you should watch it.
I will be watching it.
Yeah.
I have not heard anything you said in the last few seconds because I've been coping about the fact that you watched it without me. So
I know. But we have a Lollapalooza.
I know.
We have, I'm sure, like something else. My birthday's coming up.
No.
Plug.
I don't know about that. Yeah, no, I get it, but that was kind of a heartbreaker.
I'm so sorry.
So I don't
I had to let you know in front of the world.
The world. Hi, world.
Yeah. But it was good. Like, I think for what it is, I feel like we're on the same page. Like, we get, like, movies are made for certain reasons. Also, female director, female writers, like, screw Dan Schneider. Like, it was cool to see that. And it was silly, goofy, but, like, it did genuinely make us laugh a few times.
Did you illegally stream it?
I don't want to give away my secrets, but I have Paramount Plus without having Paramount Plus.
Okay, that's all I need to
Wink,
know.
wink. Yeah, we don't support Jamie Lynn Spears. I should say that.
Yes.
But this movie, like, isn't about her. Like, it's Zoe 102. That was one of my things is I wish the side characters had more storylines or time. Like, they had a storyline, but Michael, Logan, and Quinn I cared about a lot more. And I like Chase, too.
Yeah.
And I don't dislike Zoe herself, but, like, it was fun. And it was cool to see characters, like, I got emotional because they, like, showed old pictures and made, like, references to Zoe 101.
And, like, the show, like, we talk a lot about, like, separating the art from the artist. Yeah. And, like, in circumstances, I think that's invalid and, like, not right and shouldn't, whatever. But, like, in this instance, there are so many other people that made the movie and so many other people that, like, made it happen. And, like, not keeping the same director, having a female writer, having a female director, like, I think changes it. But we also do need to keep in mind that he sucks and she sucks and Free Britney, LOL.
Yes. No, I 100% agree. I think it was just, like, it felt good for, like, my childhood self that rooted for these characters.
To finish it.
Like, to tell myself that, like, you're going to be able to see where these characters end up on iCarly, too. Like, things like that is so cool.
Freddie and Carly have always made me cringe because the first time they kiss in the, spoiler alert, the first time they kiss, Britt is looking at me funny. The first time they kiss, he's like in a full body cast and he's all sweaty and I was like, ew. Like, it just made me feel really uncomfortable. So now I just get the ick from them because, like, I remember that scene so distinctly and I was like, ew.
That's so funny.
So,
see, I was a Carly and Freddie shooter.
Really?
Yeah, and I feel like I didn't go as hard for them as I would have with, like, Sunny and Chad on Sunny with a Chance. Course. But when people would have the debate, Sam and Freddie versus Carly and Freddie, I was a Carly and Freddie girl. Even if it wasn't, like, something I would be on the streets fighting about like other people were.
You gotta make a TikTok. I've been getting a lot of Harry Styles and Barack Obama TikToks. I don't know why I'm on Obama TikTok. Don't ask me how I got there, but it's...
Did you see the video of Liam Payne, like, on a live, and someone brought it up? He was like, Harry and Obama? Is that a conspiracy? I'm gonna have to look that up. And I'm like, first of all, how do you just find out about this? And second, the fact that, like, not only did someone comment, but he read the comment out loud. No reason. Liam cracks me up.
He's so silly. Yeah, so Harry Obama TikTok. I didn't know it was a thing until I started getting TikToks about it, and I was like, is this a bit? And I think it's a bit mostly.
Yeah.
But
Harry knows about it.
He does?
Yeah, I think he was on Graham Norton years ago and they brought it up.
That's so funny. I ship it.
And I don't think this was like obviously anything that was in their minds, but he did like a dodgeball game.
Yes, I remember
with
that.
Michelle Obama,
yeah.
and like she like hits him, and people are like,
Michelle knows.
Revenge.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what you get for stealing my husband.
Exactly.
That's so funny.
So funny.
Love that for Harry.
It was really good catching up with you, but I think there's something really important we got to talk about, and that is Community. Can I tell you about Community as
Please
if you've never seen it? Community was.
That hurt.
I know. Community was a sitcom on NBC and Yahoo from 2009 to 2015, following a group of students at Greendale Community College. Jeff is a disbarred lawyer. Britta is a self-described social activist. Abed is a socially awkward pop culture enthusiast. Troy is a former high school football star. Annie is an anxious overachiever. Shirley is a religious single mother, and Pierce is a millionaire with many questionable traits. Many wacky things happen to the Greendale Seven, including but not limited to several school closure threats, film homages, paintball battles, and alternate timelines through which this silly little study group goes from being semi-amicable strangers to each other's family, and dare I say it, a community, over the course of 6 seasons, and soon, a movie. Powerful stuff.
Wow, that brought me back. I have chills.
Really?
Whew.
It's the writer in me.
It's
As if I also didn't, like, reference Wikipedia. I was like, how do I describe each of these characters simply?
You know what we need? We need pop figures of the cast of Community.
Wouldn't that be so cute?
We could make them.
Okay.
I'm not entirely
sure. You get on that. I'm like, wonder if they have them. But yeah, a little Abed, a little Annie.
When I saw their faces for the first time again,
that's why I was gonna start out as just ask, like, what does this show mean to you? Because to me, it's one of my, I think, favorite shows of all time. A comfort show. Just, I think we both really like my favorite trope, I think, is found family in like a show, especially. Just a group of, where the group is the character in a sense, and I love that.
I haven't seen it in so long, and I forget everything always.
That's what you said. I was like, should we do a podcast in Community? You said, I
don't remember anything.
I said, we got this.
I remember like blips, but I like rewatching it, and like the way that I saw them at the end of season 6 versus the way that they are in the first episode, second episode, whatever, is like crazy. And like it really like reminded me of all the crazy shit they did together, and like how much they like love each other. But so yeah, like they, even in that first episode, like Jeff is a douchebag, but like there's glimpses in him of like this person that really cares about these people, and like to watch him grow and change, and like just all of them to grow and change. And like the way Annie even is, like she's still Annie, but like at the beginning she's like insane. I love that for her, and I see myself in her a lot. But like I feel like I can see myself in all of these characters, you know what I mean? Like I see myself in Jeff, maybe not Pierce, but like I do see myself like in all of these characters, and the way that they feel, and the way that they see themselves, the way they see the world. And that feels kind of deep for a sitcom, but like it's such a good show. Like it's so good.
It is one of those, like I said, comfort show. I have like a handful that I'm sure we'll talk about on this podcast, where if I'm feeling, either I just need something on, or I need to just feel good because I'm feeling sad that day, like this is on. It's like the choice. One of the top shows that I turn on. And it's so, also just so unique. And I was kind of thinking we can kind of break format a little of what we usually do of like favorite things, because we can just talk about that through the whole thing. But it's so unique. Like I don't think there's a sitcom or any show out there that you can compare directly to Community, and that's the reason why I love it. Like the humor is so good. Like in Stans, I think it's probably one of the funniest shows I've ever seen. Like I think people will throw out like The Office and stuff like that, but I think Community is so much funnier. I think right off the bat, just to cover ourselves, we don't need to repeat this at all the rest of the episode. It's obviously a product of its time. Not every joke is gonna hold up, but you can say that about literally every show ever. But like its sense of humor as a whole is just so good. And then just those standalone episodes that just like go out of the norm are amazing. And I love that. And like some shows maybe kind of do that, but nothing like Community.
And I think, like, it came out in 2009.
Yeah.
I think even for 2009, like, the stuff that they're talking about and, like, breaking stereotypes and having such a, a diverse cast for 2009.
Yeah.
Like, that is a big deal, I think. And, like, of course, now, like, I think everyone expects, like, to have more stories that are not just some straight white guy, whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, I feel like in 2009, it totally was ahead of its time. Like, the jokes that they were making in the first episode, I was like, oh, like, they're calling out this, like, straight white guy for being a shitty old man that, like, thinks he deserves the world. And, like, where else do you see that where they do that, you know?
Yeah.
In 2009.
And it is, I mean, I look at this cast, and again, it could definitely be more diverse, but half the characters are people of color, which is really cool.
And a gay dean?
Gay dean. Yeah, and, like, his episode in season 6, I'm kind of jumping the gun because I was going to kind of, like, go through each season. But, like, they have this whole thing where he's, like, feeling like he needs to force label himself, and he's like, well, I don't know, and maybe I'm not gay, maybe I'm pansexual. I don't know, like, that was really cool, and that was 2015.
And, like, the whole show, like, he is very flamboyant, and he's very, like, he is very queer coded, but we don't talk about it. We don't talk. He's just queer, and he's just, like, there. You know what I mean? And he gets, like, dressed up in these crazy costumes and act this way, and they never talk about it until the end, which is, I think, so cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like a piece of the joke where it's, like, his, like, obsession with
Jeff. Yeah.
And Jeff kind of, like, shrugs it off, but it's never in, like, a completely, like, okay, you're crazy kind of way. Right. And I also just think Abed, like, maybe there's a way they could have, like, labeled it better or something, because it's just kind of like, Abed's weird, but he's definitely... It's some sort of, like, mental health, neurodivergent type of situation. But, like, to have that character, and they love him, and they just, like, go out of their way to, like, see things from his perspective, like the Christmas episode. And then I was just talking about the episode where Troy leaves, and he's like, the love is real to me. I created this game so you guys can understand, like, how I'm feeling. And they do that. They're like, let's do this to make Abed feel better. And that, I know. And...
but it's not, like... Not that I feel this way, but it's not, like, pushed at you. It's not like, oh, we need to be nice to everyone, and we do. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, it just flowed so easily where all these different types of people from all different types of life and experiences and paths and whatever come together, and, like, they really become a family, and they really care about each other, and...
Yeah, they don't do these things like as a, like, you should treat everyone with kindness.
Right.
It's like they treat these people with kindness because it is the right thing to do, but because they love each other. Like, they're not like, we have to do this because it's the right thing to do. Like, that's why we're nice to Abed. They're nice to Abed because Abed's their friend and they love him.
Yeah.
And that's how...
I love Abed.
I know.
Abed's my friend. I love Abed.
Yeah. So the show, what you're saying, like, there is such a difference between, like, the characters in season 1 to season 6. But I think it's so interesting, as we were kind of talking about, of, like, how unique it is. But the show starts out just so, like, normal. Like, it's like every other probably, like, workplace, school play sitcom. But then I think the first time they kind of dipped their toe into being a little more creative was do you remember the chicken episode where it's, like, a mafia type of situation? No. There was, like, chicken fingers. I haven't watched this in a while, so I'm not gonna be able to describe it.
Ooh, chicken fingers are really good.
In the best way. There's chicken fingers in the cafeteria, and, like, Abed starts, like, an underground, I think, type of, like, ring to, like, hoard the chicken. It's, like, in the style of, like, The Godfather. And I think that's the first time
I remember it a little bit, but I'm gonna rewatch it.
Yeah, I'm like, I should rewatch this one. Because I was trying to rewatch quintessential episodes from each season, but I should have watched that one. I watched a lot of the paintball ones, which is the paintball episode in season 1. The first paintball episode was also one of the first times they do that.
Yeah.
But it's so cool to see, like, they just kind of had a normal type of, quote-unquote, normal type of format.
Yeah.
And then they started breaking it toward the end of season 1. They're like, no, this is our thing, and we're going to do this.
Right. And it...
Always.
I don't know if it... I think it paid off because it's so good and we like it so much, but I feel like it's not as popular as your Office or as your Parks and Rec or whatever. So what do you think about that?
I think it was definitely, at the time, so...
weird.
Well, yeah, and, like,
Unhinged.
Underrated. Same, underrated. I mean, The Office did terribly comparatively.
Oh, really?
Like, I feel like The Office is more popular now than it was at the time.
Oh,
Same with Parks and Rec, even, like, 30 Rock, Arrested Development.
Yeah.
I feel like Community's kind of right there in the middle.
Yeah.
Where they make a lot of meta jokes. I mean, they make a lot of meta jokes in general. They do make a lot of meta jokes about it. I watched the end of season 5 and they weren't sure what was going to happen, and we know now they got picked up by Yahoo, which is crazy.
LOL.
And Abed kept making they were like, what do you think's going to happen next season? He's like, I think we're all going to come back and blah blah blah. He's like, but if we don't, that means a meteor like hit the school and all of civilization ended. And he looks at the camera and goes, that's canon, like as their way of going, if we get canceled, well, this is what ended up happening, that's why.
Thank God.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, it was so aware that it was not
a show,
popular.
yeah.
They made a lot
It
of
wasn't popular.
jokes about like the whole musical Christmas episode was a parody of Glee because Glee ran at the same time as them. So like they were so aware of that. So I definitely think at the time it was not as like popular as whatever else was going on. But now I wish it was up there with The Office. And obviously, personally, I wish Parks and Rec was. It's probably the closest. But I think The Office is like king of comedy.
Unpopular opinion, I don't like The Office at all.
Really?
I don't like that type of humor. I don't like that type of, like, I feel uncomfortable because this guy makes me feel uncomfortable or these situations make me feel uncomfortable. Like, I don't really find those things funny, and that's, like, that's valid, you know? Like, we don't have to find everything the same. But I know how, like, popular it is, and I just never really got into it. I tried, and I know, like, the beginning is slow, whatever, but, like, I just never really understood, like, that type of comedy, I guess. So that's why I kind of like Community, because it's not like that, like, cringe comedy. I can't stand cringe comedy.
No, that's so valid. And I also listened to, it's like semi-unrelated, but related, Adam Scott and Quinta Brunson did Actors on Actors last year. So good, because I love both of them. And they talk a lot about how people compare Abbott to The Office because The Office is the quintessential workplace mockumentary.
Right.
She's like, well, people always compare it to The Office, but I think it's more like Parks and Rec. And I agree with her because Parks and Rec, she was always like, The Office was never inviting. It was kind of just like awkward. You felt like weird.
Yeah.
And Parks and Rec invites you in, like, welcome to our world, welcome to our space. And I think Community's kind of in the middle of, there is moments where you're like, this is a little awkward, this is a little like, cynical, I guess is the word. Like Parks and Rec is such a like
happy, feel good.
Yes. And I think Community teeters closer to that than The Office, but it's kind of like in the middle where there also are like cynical, sarcastic jokes. And that's why I like Parks and Rec better than The Office. I think to each their own. Obviously, everyone has a different sense of humor. And I do like The Office. Like, I've seen all The Office, and I think that's part of it is, like, when you spend more time with it, not saying, like, you need to sit down and watch it all, but, like, you get to know the characters and some of that humor, like, makes more sense. And that goes for anything. But, like, that's why I think Parks and Rec wins out to me. Like, New Girl, Schitt's Creek, just, like, shows about, like, people that are kind to each other.
I love A Found Family. Like, I really just do. I'm like, those are my best friends. Like, those are my best friends.
The Office doesn't have that. Like, they do, like, there are moments where, like, this is a family. Like, it definitely has those moments, but not in the same way where you're like, the people on Parks and Rec genuinely love each other. And even if they're, like, a little more, quote unquote, I don't know, cynical might not be the best word, but Community is the same way. Like, they love each other so much.
And I love them so much.
So I made some, like, notes. I don't know if I covered everything, but in season 2, they start to do more of those episodes. So I listed out some of the highlights, which is the first time they do the documentary, which is like Pierce is in the hospital and there's like a documentary, and then LeVar Burton is there and Troy has a panic attack about it. I watched yesterday the rocket ship episode. Do you remember it's sponsored by KFC? That cracks me up.
The one where, can I hop in?
Yeah.
The one where they like throw back to all these like things that happened, but we never saw them happen.
My 2 favorite episodes of season 2, and honestly our top 5, top 10 of the entire series, are the bottle episode.
I love a bottle episode.
It's like, and when they're so self-referential, they're so self-referential about like TV in general because of Abed, because he wants to make TV. And I love that, and we do that. Like, they refer to their lives as seasons, and we basically do that. But the bottle episode's amazing, and then, yes, the fake flashback episode, because the reason why people do flashback episodes and bottle episodes is to save money. So they don't have to go to external sets, so they don't have to make new footage. But they did a
flashback episode and recorded all new footage.
So
funny.
Good.
So
and then,
funny.
I don't know if I've told you this, but pretend I didn't, for the sake of if one other person listening to this finds this out, because I've definitely said this 10 times. But my favorite, like, piece of behind-the-scenes trivia happens because of the flashback episode, which is when, like, Annie's like, but Jeff, like, what about me? Like, you've been looking at me like this. So they play that, montage of like Jeff and Annie moments with Gravity by Sarah Bareilles. The reason why they do that is because someone made a fan edit of Jeff and Annie to Gravity by Sarah Bareilles.
You never told me that.
Oh my god,
that's so funny.
They do that on purpose, and they make it like they're kind of like teasing fans of like, well, you can, if you zoom in on any moment, put slow mo and music over it, like you can make anyone look good. So they do it with Abed and Pierce. But the reason they do that is because of the fan that made that exact edit, but also it was at the end of the season and they didn't have the budget for Gravity. So Dan Harmon used his own money to pay for the rights to the song just so they could do that. And I think the fan has like complicated feelings about it. She's like, well, that's a little embarrassing, but like cool that they recognize it. Because I don't think they did it maliciously at all.
Right.
But
it's funny.
Yeah, like I just love like that as me like dream wanting to be a writer. Like Dan Harmon going out of his way to like make that happen is just like so funny. It's so satisfying.
Yeah. I love that.
They care about like the characters, but they care about their fans. I feel like the show does a really good job.
In the movie. I'm very excited for the movie.
Me too. And then bottle episode, fake flashback, and then they have the double paintball episode season finale, which I rewatched.
Yes.
And they do the
yes.
Western, and then they do Star Wars.
Yes. Turn it on. Sorry, we have to stop the podcast because we have to go watch.
Good. I guess while we're kind of like talking about all these episodes, do you have a favorite of the homages or special episodes? However you want to define it.
I like the timeline. Does that one count? The timeline
that's what
episode?
I have listed. Basically, all I wrote for season 3 was Remedial Chaos Theory.
That one's one of my favorite episodes.
That's like, I think, the Community episode.
Or the one where they're animated.
Well, there's a few.
The one where they're in the video game. Yes.
That's in season 3 too.
Yeah, I like that one.
I need to like make a list.
I know. I know. What are the other animated ones? When they're claymation?
Claymation. They do like a puppet one at some point.
Puppet one.
I'm trying to think if they're ever traditionally animated. Well, another controversial one is the we don't need to spend too much time on this, but the Dungeons and Dragons episode that you can't watch anymore.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, it's because
did I watch it?
I think so, because it was taken off of streaming since like 2020 because Chang technically he doesn't do blackface. He paints himself black, like black paint, to look like a goblin in Dungeons and Dragons. And then they make a comment about it or something and he leaves. Like he ends up leaving and it's in there for 5 seconds. And that's why the whole episode is taken out. I wish they just took out the scene. Because that episode is actually, and Yvette Nicole Brown has talked about this. She's like, that's not what was happening. And I get that it's a little off.
Right.
But the episode is they invite, I forget his name. They invite this kid who's getting bullied to play Dungeons and Dragons with him so he doesn't like hurt himself or something like that, to like look out for this other kid. And it's one of the great Community episodes where they're like immersed into this like really cool episode. So I'm pissed that like at the very least they didn't just delete the scene.
Oh shit. Yeah, I don't remember that. Dang.
I know.
I forgot about all these little side characters until I watched that video that you sent with like 1 second from every episode. And then when I started it and Starburns was sitting there, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Magnitude.
I and that too. I was like, oh my God. And then like there's so many other little characters that come in like every episode and then sometimes are reoccurring that are just so funny.
I know.
Like, so funny. And like community college like is such a good idea. Like it is such a good idea and it's so different and it's so like funny and like relatable and I just
remembered another episode I like, which is when the conspiracy episode where Jeff's like, I'm taking this night class called Conspiracies.
Yes.
And he's like, that teacher wasn't real. And then like it just keeps spiraling. Then the dean gets involved and they like fake him out, but then they fake Annie out, but then they fake Jeff out. It's so
all right, turn it on.
God. More people need to watch it. I know that plenty of people watch this.
But more of our friends need to watch it so we can talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I was thinking about watching it with Morgan.
You should.
And I started it today, so maybe I'll make her watch it tonight.
That's the only way you can like I wish I could erase my memory and watch certain shows for the first time. The only way that you can do that
is watching it with someone else.
And getting to experience it through like their reactions. Yeah. So I'm gonna come over and watch with Morgan too.
Okay, sounds good.
So then season 4, the first 3 seasons I feel like are the best. Then in season 4, I don't know if you knew this, they fired Dan Harmon.
I did know that.
So they call it, then he gets hired in season 5 again. So they, in the show, referred to the season 4 stuff as the gas leak year, where they don't like remember it. None of it made sense because it wasn't, I guess, canon in Dan Harmon's eyes. But
that's so
one
funny.
thing I wanted to bring up while we were talking about this was there was
the
a
Gas
lot
Leak season
of this is kind of controversial, and I think we're on both opposite sides of the controversy. Jeff and Annie.
Oh yeah.
There were a lot of Jeff and Annie. There's some Jeff and Annie stuff in season 4, which wasn't just the only time they did that. But I want to know your opinion, and I want to talk about my opinion, and then I think the idea of it all.
I remember, I'm just trying to like go back. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen this in a while. I remember not liking it, like feeling like it wasn't there as much as I feel like it could have, should have been to have that hype around it, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that what you remember me thinking?
Well, I just wasn't sure, because I know people get really upset because of the age difference.
I mean, I love a MILF. I mean, I love a DILF.
Well, I just think it's super interesting because I was just thinking about this in depth. Because I sometimes will see people get really angry on Twitter. And I'm like, well, because I really like them. And to, I guess, your first point about, like, them not being there, I think it's intentional in some ways because I think I read somewhere that, like, Dan Harmon didn't want there to be a big, big romance. And not that there weren't. Like, there was Jeff and Britta and Troy, even Annie and Abed a little bit. Like, they had romances within the group.
Yeah, but nothing, like you said, nothing.
No, like, no
crazy.
Ross and Rachel, no Ben and Leslie type of thing. Yeah. But I really liked Annie and Jeff because I think it has that trope of, like, grumpy guy, sweet girl, and he kind of, like, softens up. Yeah. And I think that's really cute.
She is, first season, she's, like, straight out of high school. So
she's like
18.
Yeah.
He's, what, 30?
Closer to 40, I
5?
think. 35, 40? I think he turns 40, like, in season 5.
Right.
It's, like, mid to late 30s.
Okay. I don't know. I'm a different person than I was when I watched this show.
Yeah.
So now I'm not entirely sure that I would hate it because of the age difference. Mm-hmm. And that's character development. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like because they don't start kissing until season 4.
Well, I was just using this as because I didn't really have much to say about season 4, so I said, hey, let's just throw Jeff and Annie into here. They kissed for the first time. In a debate episode.
Yes.
But it was just for the moment of the debate. Nothing really happens there too much. They kind of plant the seed. But their big kisses at the end of season 2, or season 1, which I do think is like
they're like
really
on the steps,
good.
right?
Because she's about to leave, and then he was deciding between Britta and that professor. So it's like he's like love triangle, and then it's like this like cut to like a secret third thing.
Yeah.
So
she was 18 and he was 37.
Yeah. So it is like it's not.
But also like they're not endgame, like, right?
Hold on. I'm just going to briefly hit, like, the bullet points of their relationship. So, yeah, they kiss there, and then the summer goes by, and she's pissed at him because he doesn't really say anything to her. So nothing much happens. They have little moments where, like I said, like, he kind of, like, softens up around her. I'm like, that's the good stuff. And then they don't really kiss again. They kiss in Remedial Chaos Theory, but then that kind of, like, fades away. They don't do much, but there's, like, little seeds. So it isn't, like, a big thing, but there are 2 key moments.
Okay, give it to me.
One of them is at the end of season 5, which I just watched, where they think the school's gonna get there's so many things where they think something's gonna happen to the school.
Right.
So they go on like some sort of crazy adventure. And then for whatever reason, Jeff and Britta are like, we're gonna get married. And Annie's like, what the fuck? But then she's kind of like, oh no, we just have to let people do what they want. And they have a moment where they look at each other. But then the bigger moment is when they get locked in this basement and there's like a robot down there. So crazy out of
just
context.
Like saying these little tiny things are so funny.
There's like a computer that like can control whatever. And they're like, the scientist, I think the guy who founded Greendale is down there. And he looks like a caveman.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, it responds to emotion. So theoretically, like a burst of human emotion or love can get us out of here. So Jeff makes everyone turn around and like face away from them. And he looks at all them and hears like dialogue between them all. And when he looks at Annie, like he hears the "my lady, my lord," and then it opens. So it's like, that's something. And then they do have a big moment at the end of the series when Annie's going away to join the FBI. Jeff's having like a quintessential or midlife crisis because he's like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like everyone's going to leave and what am I going to do? Just be here forever? But he's also like, he has that moment where like, Annie, I need to let you go because I like the heart wants what it wants. I love you, but I need you to go. And she's like, well, you need to kiss me before you have like, it's your last chance. So they kiss. And then he sends her and Abed off. So they're not endgame, but they're not endgame.
Yeah.
Like, I think if there wasn't a couple that was the couple, it would be them.
Yeah.
But
no, I think I've changed. I think I've grown up and I've changed, and I don't really remember thinking anything. I was probably drunk. I was crazy back then.
It's crazy back.
But like now, like the way you're talking about it, and this happened on the TED cast when like you were talking about Rebecca and Ted. I forgot his name. I was like, this whole show, but whatever. I didn't see it until you showed me that video. So now, like, listening to you talk about it, like, I do see it. I do see where you're coming from.
Well, so the point Community was making, if you take any two characters, edit it the right way, put the right soundtrack on it, because that happens sometimes where I'll see an edit of a show I don't even watch, and I go, they look
You're
so
like,
good together.
love.
And then I'll watch the show, and I'm like, I don't really know. You have to form your own opinion.
Right.
And, yeah, I just think they have great chemistry. Like,
Yeah.
I think...
we'll have to do a follow-up when we rewatch the whole series.
Yeah, and the movie. I just think they have great chemistry. I think that's the thing. Honestly, what I want to also just briefly talk about, because it's not even a whole Community thing, just like age differences in shows and how like sometimes people will be like, this is wrong, but we'll turn around and ship another age gap couple. And I think sometimes that has to do with is who's in the position of being older, is it a man or a woman? And I think it's really hard growing up with like the Pretty Little Liars stuff, which we can save the actual discourse for that. But I think it's hard to distinguish
growing up
when
in a time
wrong.
when you're 12, 13,
When
14,
you're young.
and you're watching these people, like your teacher or your coach or whatever it is, like, yeah, I think that's a really, really good point. Can I talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, I just want to finish. My point was just to say, like, it's hard when you are young, but when the actors playing younger characters are adults. Like, when Arya and Ezra, it's supposed to be a 16-year-old and a 25-year-old, they're both, like, 25. So it's hard to be like, that is wrong, because it doesn't look wrong, because they're both adults, is my thing. Because, like, Annie, Alison Brie is, like, in her 20s. So, like, her and Joel McHale don't look like a problematic couple.
Difference. Yeah, that's a really good point. But also, like, yeah, like, seeing this thing that's been romanticized, like, my whole life, especially, like, as a teenage girl, but something that is probably very wrong. You know what I mean? Like, it not probably is very wrong, especially if someone is underage. Like, it's hard to, like, erase from your mind when it's been so romanticized. But then think about it. Like, I'm 23. I wouldn't date someone younger than, honestly, 21. If you can't get a drink at a bar, I don't really want to date you. And it's like, you're in two different places in your life. Like, even Morgan and I are 28. Morgan and I are not 28. She's 28 and I'm 23. And, like, even that, sometimes I feel like we're in, like, different places in our lives. But, like, it works. Don't worry.
Yeah. So I feel like it's also a case by case.
Right. But I could not imagine being 30 and dating an 18-year-old. Like, that's just not something that I can imagine. But then also, by the end of the series, she's in her 20s. So, like... Yeah. And it's not like they've been dating for a month and they ran off and got married. Like, I could see it, but also, yeah, like, it's so romanticized. Like, these age gaps are so romanticized.
Yeah.
That it's kind of hard to, like, get yourself out of that tunnel vision.
For sure. And I think that makes it for a very interesting potential for the movie. Who knows what's going to happen to anyone in the movie, but...
Can I say, she looks great. Like, they all look so good. I think Joel McHale looks even better than he did.
Yeah, aging like fine wine.
Oh, God. All of them.
Yeah.
Except for Chevy Chase.
Well, I was going to transition to season 5. Season 5 starts out with him dying.
Good.
But our man Troy leaving. And I will say, I think if there is...
Did they both left at the same time?
Around the same time.
Yeah.
Chevy Chase was gone before the season even started. But I think Donald Glover was like, I want to leave, but, like, let's write Troy off in, like, a
give him a chance.
If there's any duo on this show that really matters, it's Troy and Abed. And I believe that, and I think...
That's the romantic...
Exactly. Like, I think people do ship them, and I think people obviously just really enjoy their relationship, and I hope Donald Glover's in the movie. We know that he's in the movie. If it's in one scene, it better just be him and Abed, and I don't care if they're in love or they're best friends forever, like, something.
I don't think that they need to be in love. I think that we can showcase friendship and not idolize romantic relationships. I am, and you know, I love gay. My job is gay. Like, my job is gay. And I think that we can have a non-romantic relationship and idolize it, you know?
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I think using love story though isn't not correct for them, because they love each other so much, like the purest relationship on the show. And in that episode where they're being given all the gifts from Pierce, the sperm particularly.
God damn. He's the worst.
Troy gets his present is the sperm, and basically like all of Pierce's money, but if he goes on a voyage around the world on the Childish Tycoon. Do you remember that? That was the name of the boat. So he can go off in real life, be Childish Gambino. But this part kills me is they're doing a lie detector test in order to do all this stuff. So they're still hooked up, and like they're all like, oh my god, say something, Abed, say something. And all Abed can say is, cool. And then the polygraph person goes, that was a lie. And like, I'm on chills. Like, first of all, the community world building of that, like meaning something of Abed saying, cool. And then just their relation, like Troy and Abed, and then I already kind of said this in the lava episode where he's like, well, the lava's real to me because Troy's leaving. Like, I'm not going to see lava. Like, I'm always going to see lava if you're gone. And I was like sobbing. I'm like trying to do laundry and I'm like sobbing. Because like, for a moment, Troy almost doesn't go so we can protect Abed, but Abed's like, no, I need to let you go, and like, quote unquote, sacrifices himself, even though it's not a real lava, sacrifice. Yeah. But he like throws himself into the lava because he doesn't want to hold Troy back. And then their actual goodbye when they hug. Kill me.
All right. And like, turn it on. And like those two characters, like who they are on this first episode that I just watched, and like who Troy was and who Abed was, and like they like live together. Like it's so good. Like it's such good world building and character building that like can't be beat.
Yeah. Similarly, when he's saying goodbye to Annie was like, all I wanted in high school was Troy Barnes to notice me, and now we got to live together. And he goes, well, that's on me. Like, I'm mad that I didn't notice you because I just missed out on 4 more years of Annie. And I was like, I'm just like, every single thing. Oh, and then he says goodbye to Jeff, and he's like, Jeff, I hope, like, you're the coolest person I know. I hope you make you proud. And he goes, Troy, I've never set foot out of Colorado. You're already so much cooler than me. Like, all those little moments, like, that's a fucking family.
You're gonna start crying. Stop it. I'm gonna start crying if you start crying.
It's so
good. It is really good. It is really good. Mm-hmm. I think that we should watch it live on the podcast.
Yeah, like do a rewatch podcast?
Yeah.
That would be kind of good.
The whole thing in one episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
And then the show kind of ends with, I kind of already said some of this. I think Britta is working at a bar, Jeff is at the school, Annie goes off to pursue an internship at the FBI. They actually wrote Shirley off. I don't remember why, but it was because Yvette Nicole Brown needed to take care of like her parent. She couldn't commit to the work hours. But and then Abed goes off to pursue his Hollywood career.
That's my idol.
So I'm very excited that they're all gonna come back somehow.
Is Yvette, is she in the movie?
There's been that's the weird thing is like there hasn't been confirmation, but Yvette's like talked about it. I hope so, because I think like
Chevy Chase is not.
No, because I think he's dead, and I don't think
in real life.
No, the show.
Oh, in the show. I was like, when did that happen?
Oh my god, can you imagine?
Yeah, he is dead in the show, but maybe it's not like, that I want him back.
Yeah, and then the reason why he stopped being on the show was I think he didn't want to be there either, but like he was not pleasant to work around, and we didn't really talk about his character much, but like I get that the point was for him to be bigoted, and that was the joke, but it's like him not being there didn't take anything away. Troy not being there and eventually Shirley not being there was a bummer.
No, yeah, 1,000%.
But Pierce, I didn't care all that.
Yeah, it added like layers, but also like we could find those elsewhere.
Yeah. And like his dynamic at the end of season 2, they like are talking about voting him out of the group. That's like the backstory to the paintball like drama. And that was really sad. Like, and they're like, okay, he like electively leaves, but they're like, no, just stay. And he's like, I'm gonna go. And they're like, so someone's like, go after him. They're like, no, this is him acting out. He'll come right back. And they all turn, and it's just like a shot of them staring and waiting for him to come back. Like, he was a quintessential part of the group, but not a part where if anyone else left. Yeah. I mean, Troy did leave, and that destroyed me. Yeah. But only anyone else, not him.
Yeah. I know you said that you didn't want to stay with the typical format, but do you have a favorite character?
Well, that's what I meant. We can kind of infuse it into the whole podcast instead of saving it for the end.
Cool.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I think my favorite is Abed. Annie, close second. What about you?
Gay Dean takes the cake for me.
Honestly probably 3.
Gay Dean #1, and I love a Jeff Winger. Jeff Winger reminds me so much of myself when I stand up on the couch and
You
give
give Jeff Winger speeches all the time.
I give Jeff Winger speeches. I just watched the first episode, and he I was like, love that man.
No, he's a great main character. Sometimes you have like the main character, and they're just there to be the main character, and the rest of them are the most fun part of the show. And I feel like the show does a great job of 99% of the characters you care about them. But Jeff is great, and like his character development just like makes it all the while. Like that's the point, is throwing this like cynical man into this kooky environment and watching him soften up, and that's good shit.
All right, well, we're going to end this podcast early because I have to go watch all of it right now.
So true. All right, I feel like I had a couple more questions in that vein. I kind of already asked about, like, favorite homage. Or just favorite episode in general. Are there any, like, highlights that you can think of, scenes even, that we haven't talked about?
What's the one where you're gonna have to help me out with this one, where there's like the bad group and they're playing pool, or they're playing ping pong, or they're playing
yes that's sort of like him and Shirley have that animated scene too.
Don't they play
foosball?
Yes, thank you, you got it.
Yes
We could do charades.
Yes, oh my god, we'd kill it.
God.
One of my favorite episodes, 2 of them are there's the Law and Order one, which is great.
Good.
And in season 5, it's right before they find out Pierce is dead, there's the ass crack bandit. And do you know about the conspiracy theory that people think Annie's the ass crack bandit? No. That's what people think, and they kind of allude to it, because at the end of that episode, they're like, this case remains like unsolved, or the case remains cold. And then like Jeff and Annie are together, and they either say he or something. They're like, she's like, well, how do you know it's not a woman? And then like she freezes and like looks back at Jeff, and he kind of looks at her, and that's just kind of how it ends. So there's like a wild popular theory that she is the ass crack bandit.
So funny.
And I honestly hope she is. And now she's going to the FBI, so they'll never catch her.
They'll never catch her now. That's funny.
But that's one of my favorites. I feel like we covered Pillows and Blankets. I watched, which is like a Ken Burns documentary, and I think they get Ken Burns to do the voiceover. Do you remember when this is also around the same time where the Subway sponsorship, and there's a man named Subway?
Yes.
And now do you see Subway's trying to pay someone to actually do that?
No.
Subway wants to pay someone.
They could pay me
to change their name to Subway.
I will legally change my name to Subway.
That's what they're looking for. So if it's just a bunch of people willing, and then they pick someone random out of the people that are willing, so you got to throw your hat in the ring.
Should I legally change my name to Subway even if I'm not picked?
I think so. Yeah, and then there's no choice. You'll have to be in the Community movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
But Subway, they put like a Subway in the cafeteria or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then funny. They're like, Shirley wanted to have a Subway or a sandwich shop. And then they're like, well, in the bylaws, you can only have a business in the school if you're at least a part-time student. We're like, we just enrolled like this person in, and their name was Subway. Yes. And Britta falls in love with Subway, and it's so goofy.
I gotta leave. I gotta go watch it right now.
It's so good. That's why I'm like, I tried to write down little episodes. They brought Paintball back in season 6.
Thank God.
I mean, Remedial Chaos Theory, we mentioned it, but that's the episode.
Yeah,
like
that's a good one.
Timelines, and the fact that kind of comes back where they could revisit like those timelines. That's up there. I wanted to ask if you have a favorite Deanism, costume, or quote that he says. I wrote, people do this, and I just remembered another scene I really like. There's a Twitter account that'll tweet this every Saturday, and he goes, call me Craig. On Saturdays, I'm just a Craigular Joe. And then my favorite is when he comes in and he's dressed in period stuff, and he's like, we're flat Baroque. So good. I say that all the time in my real life. Flat Baroque.
I like the Gay Dean song. I love it. Mm-hmm. And I say it on the daily.
You're wearing your Dolly shirt.
I am.
Gay Dean.
Gay Dean for president.
Gay Dean. Gay Dean.
All of his costumes are iconic. I like when he dresses up like half man, half woman. That's a good one. I said yes.
We got a Tina Turner. The clock's back.
He's so good. He's so good.
The payday rap. Do you know the payday rap? I'm a payday bar, and I'm here to say your checks will arrive on another day, another day, another day. And then he like goes into a full rap, and he's like, Barack Obama, be scared of me, because I don't spit knowledge, and I do it for
It's so funny that you could remember that whole thing, and I don't remember a single thing that happened in Community. Like, you took all of my brain power.
Well, sometimes I'll just go on YouTube and watch that clip.
Yeah.
Because then he starts, like, freaking out and crying. He's like, I don't know what just happened. I don't know, like, why I said that. And, like, runs out of the room. We need to watch that clip as soon as we're done here. So good. Mm-hmm. He's so fun. He's
my favorite
the
character.
funniest on the show.
Yeah.
Like, I love Abed because I love him so much, and he
looks good in that pic, Abed.
You need to watch, to totally derail this, you need to watch Mythic Quest.
Yeah.
Did I tell you about that?
No.
Mythic Quest is a show, you would love it. It has similar vibes. It's Rob McElhenney, who's on It's Always Sunny. He created it. Mm-hmm. One of the writers for Community co-created it. So it has very Community vibes.
Yeah.
And Danny Pudi is on it, and Danny Pudi's kind of like the villain. And Danny Pudi, dare I say it, is hot. So hot. And
All right, I'm in.
Love him. You would like it a lot. It's very much in the vein of like the shows we like. It's a video game workplace comedy.
Well,
So good. Anyway, yeah, I think the Dean is so funny. Jim Rash is so funny. He's won an Oscar. He wrote that movie with George Clooney and Shailene Woodley. So like he's super just like talented and stuff.
which one?
It's this movie from a while ago called Descendants or something.
I don't remember.
I haven't seen it, but
I'll have to
apparently
watch it.
he wrote it, won an Academy
icon.
Award, and then they did a panel for the show, and he like brought the award.
That's gonna be me.
But I'm trying to wrap this up so we can do our little game that I have for us.
I love games.
Yeah, he's so funny. That's end of sentence. He's the funniest person on the show. And then we didn't talk about Chang, because Chang's fucking insane. I don't even know how to begin and end with him. But like, do you have a favorite iteration of Chang, from Spanish teacher to dictator to just he's just kind of there?
I don't think I have a favorite. He's always just...
I think the dictator's my least favorite, is all I know.
He's such a silly goose.
He's
I have to
so
go
silly.
watch this right now. I know I've said that a million times, but...
I also think Ken Jeong is so silly goofy.
Yeah, he's such a silly goose.
I like when he pops up in random things. I'm like, yes! Ken Jeong's in this!
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Britta's in this? I really Britted this. I love seeing them in other things in general.
Yeah.
Like Britta or Gillian Jacobs being on The Bear.
On The Bear, and then I
And
just
Joel.
watched Fear Street 1970, I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
She's in that, which was so fun. I was like, she looks good. When she pulled up in The Bear, I was like,
Well, I saw a screen cap of her. I said, who's she going to be? And then she was Richie's ex. And I was like, so then I was really invested. I'm like,
Yeah.
they need to get back together because I want Gillian to be in this all the time.
yeah.
Um,
Richie deserves the world.
Trying to think of any other favorites, highlights, quotes. Oh, this is what I thought of. In that episode where he's like, I'm a Craigular Joe. It's when he's kind of like purposely ends up in the same place as Jeff so they can spend the day together. And they do karaoke together. Oh, good. There's so many just random things. And it's the episode where Annie's moving in with Troy and Abed, which is also a really sweet storyline. And then, fun fact, Britta and Shirley pick up a hitchhiker, and it's Coach Beard.
That is so funny.
Yeah, there's also just so many good little guest stars. Like Jack Black is in this. I just watched Kumail Nanjiani is in it. Like, so many people pop up all the time, too.
I remember not liking John Oliver. I remember that.
So funny. He was in the episode I just watched, and he got, like, electrocuted or hit. And they say something, and like, I hope he's okay. And they say something about aluminum, and he's like, it's pronounced aluminium. And they're like, see, he's fine. So he's so goofy.
So goofy.
But it's funny that he's in it at the beginning.
And then not.
Disappears. And then he's back for just like a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that he's in it at all. Like John Oliver. Yeah. So many. I even like it's hard to do that, and obviously they're not as good as the main characters, but when they bring in the guy that's from Breaking Bad, like that older man, there's a couple of just like the filler characters because they start to lose the originals, but like I enjoyed them. I don't think I disliked them, but it is hard to compare. We said favorite characters, favorite everything. I mean, this show, everything is a favorite. Also good.
Everything is a favorite, that's true.
So I guess it's hard to really ask this question, but would you recommend this?
Of course not.
We literally were like, everyone needs to watch this.
Yes, watch Community if you haven't seen it. Watch Community if you have. Make your mom and your dad and your grandparents and your kids and your dogs watch it.
It's so fun. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most unserious, would you rate this? It's
Maybe like an 8?
Yeah, I think 8's good.
Because there are moments, but also, it's
Yeah.
a silly goose show.
It's so sweet, but it is very silly goose.
Yeah.
And then I have one extra question. Do you have any, like, hopes for the movie, particularly?
That's a good question, Megan. I just wanted to have the same vibe. Like, I just wanted to have the same, like, found family, like, experience. And I just wanted everyone to be happy and have a good time.
Something I didn't mention earlier was, I think another really cool thing about the show is how close the cast is. Because you don't get that a lot. And I feel like a lot of shows I like, you do get, like, I feel like the Parks cast loves each other. And, like, plenty of cast will, like, see each other from now and then. But, like, Gillian and Joel and Ken Jeong were just in something together. Allison and Danny are, like, best friends. He was in her movie. Like, the fact that they're all so close and seeing them, if anyone hasn't watched it, if you haven't watched it, the reunion they did during COVID.
I didn't.
So good. So they do, like, a script read of the Pierce is Dead episode, the sperm episode. And Pedro Pascal plays the lawyer that's doing it because the actor couldn't do it. So they got Pedro Pascal to do it. And
so funny.
And it's so worth it. But, like, seeing them all back together and then they do, like, a Q&A.
Are they on Zoom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then they do a Q&A, but then the best is another thing. Ken and Joel had a podcast together during COVID and a bunch of them
and
were
then they were on, hold on, don't say it, The Masked Singer together.
Yes!
You remember that?
Every time Joel was on, I was like, yes.
I know.
Any reunion I can get, I take. But then they just did, like, basically an episode of their podcast with all of them. So, like, yeah, everyone there. And it's so funny. They're just talking about memories. Donald Glover talked about how he referenced something that they had an inside joke about.
Cry. That will make me cry.
Yeah, I did. Like, he was like, I said something to my wife, and it was a quote we said, and then he just started crying because he just, like, took him back. So I highly recommend watching literally every piece of that content.
Okay.
It's, like, it's probably 2 hours altogether, but it's so good because they all just get along and love each other. So I hope that Donald Glover's in more than one scene, and I will take every inch of it I get, especially if it's a Troy and Abed. Like, he finally comes back, and they get to be best friends forever again.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, selfishly, I'd like Jeff and Annie together, but I won't be devastated if that's not what happens, as long as the gang's together in some capacity.
Oh, look at them looking at us.
I love them so much. Okay. So I feel like we could do this pretty quickly, but I thought we could test our community knowledge.
Okay.
With a trivia quiz. There's a trivia company in Chicago
called What Do You Know?
What Do You Know? And I'm sure it's in other places, but it's so fucking hard. I don't think they've ever done community, but I feel like we need to mentally prepare for the time that they do. Julia wasn't there, but me, Jade, and Brie, and Ava especially, pulled ahead and got second place in Ted Lasso trivia, which was hard. But New Girl, me and Brie were in, like, 30th place, and I don't even know if
I was there for that, partially.
Yes.
And then I left because it was taking way too long.
It was. The TED one was a lot quicker, too. I think it's because that place was so big. But Schitt's Creek, we were, like, in 5th. Like, it's hard. Like, as much as you think you know a show.
Yeah. They're oddly specific.
Yeah. I don't know how long this quiz is, but I feel like we can rapid fire it.
Okay.
So it's called Impossible.
Do you know the answers?
I haven't looked at it.
Okay.
So we're in this together. Impossible Community Quiz. Are you a true fan?
Is it the What Do You Know brand?
Mm-mm. I was just bringing it up in general to be like, this is our prep in case they ever do.
Okay. All right, let's go.
Which word does Britta pronounce incorrectly?
I don't know.
Pickle, Chipotle, Obama, or bagel? I know this one.
What was the first one?
Pickle.
I feel like it's bagel.
It is bagel.
Okay.
She says bagel.
Yes.
I wonder if it doesn't tell you if you're right, so I guess we see how well we do at the end.
At the end.
How did Troy get injured and lose his football scholarship? I think I know this one too.
He was doing I just watched this episode. He did a keg flip.
Yes. Good job. We'll see if we can do it without the multiple choice. Which of these isn't an episode name? Contemporary American Country, which is the chicken finger episode. Intro to seat welding, which doesn't sound right. Competitive wine tasting, or basic lupine urology. And that's the CSI Law and Order episode where their science project gets fucked.
Right.
So it's either intro to seat welding or competitive wine tasting.
I think it's competitive wine tasting. I feel like seat welding reminds me of something.
Okay.
What do you think?
I know it's
think
one of
it's
those
C.
two, so I could really be convinced of either. 'Cause also, I don't remember either of those.
I think it's competitive wine tasting.
Okay, let's do it. Who stole Annie's pen?
The squirrel. Was it a squirrel?
The
A
monkey.
rat? What was it?
A monkey.
A monkey.
Do you remember what the monkey's name is?
Can you give me my options?
Well, Leonard, Chang, Fat Neil, and Annie's boobs.
Annie's boobs.
Annie's boobs. I hope Annie's boobs is in the movie. 17 ads just popped up.
Oh, good.
Where's the question? Please hold. Oh, okay. Which famous actor does Abed take a class in? Keanu Reeves, Samuel L. Jackson, Nicolas Cage, or Sean Connery?
Do you know?
I think so.
I feel like it's Nicolas Cage, but okay.
Yeah. I think we're crushing this.
Yeah, I think so too.
According to Brita's personality test, who is the only sane member of the group? I remember this. Jeff, Pierce, Chang, or Abed.
Abed.
Yeah. And I don't even think they say it. It's like a shot of all the tests, and you just see that Abed's is like the best. I love this show. What are Shirley's kids' names?
No fucking clue.
No way. Mike and Curtis, Dante and Tyrell, Elijah and Jordan, or Donald and Billy.
Donald and Billy.
Really?
I think so.
Really?
I feel like it's Billy.
Okay.
What do you think?
I don't know. I feel like those are the most like they just said two names,
Okay.
but I don't know. I'll say Donald and Billy.
Okay. I wonder if we're ever gonna know if we were right or wrong.
I know. Are they gonna break this down by
How many
episode?
questions were there?
Which of these is it? I don't know. I saw in one. I was looking at a bunch of quizzes. One had 30. And I don't know if that's the one we're doing. But
Okay.
I'm trying to go quick. Which of these isn't a paintball episode? Modern Warfare, Studies in Modern Movement, A Fistful of Paintballs, or Modern Espionage? I think it's Modern Espionage.
Okay, I don't
So
know.
I just watched a bunch of them. Warfare is
Yeah, I know that is
the first one, and Fistful of Paintballs is one of the season 2 ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's Espionage.
Okay, I trust you.
What is the motto of the Greendale flag? I just watched this episode.
Oh, it's I'll know it when you say it.
These are so crazy that I have to say these. Labia, Vincent, E pluribus anus,
That one.
yeah,
But same.
Dum spirospermo, and Alice volat penis.
I'm glad that you just said labia, penis.
I'm not gonna be able to pronounce these, and then I realized they put in a body part to everyone. E pluribus anus.
Yes.
That's in the KFC episode.
I remember the sign. It looks like a butthole.
Oh, can you get this one without multiple choice?
Probably
What was
not.
Annie's high school nickname?
Annie Adderall.
Yep. Little Annie Adderall, but same thing. What does Pierce's family sell?
It was like tissues, wipes, something like that.
Moist tellets, I think is what they have.
Yeah.
But the options were condoms, racist literature, toilet roll. But it's moist tellets. What is Magnitude? Oh, what inspired Magnitude's catchphrase? I don't know. Popcorn, Pop Rocks, popping balloons, or popcorn chicken? Pop Rocks?
I was thinking. Read them again.
Popcorn, Pop Rocks, popping balloons, or popcorn chicken?
I feel like it was balloons or chicken.
Okay.
But I don't know. You pick.
I'm gonna go balloons.
Okay, I trust you. Pop, pop.
Which band did Britta drop out of high school to impress? She dropped out of high school to impress this band. Radiohead, REM, Travis, or Smash Mouth? I don't know this.
Smash Mouth?
I want it to be Smash Mouth.
I doubt it, but do it.
Yeah. What is Starperson's real name? Ozzy, Alex, Jack, or
Alex.
Okay. Wow. Oh my god, we should go to trivia right now. How many times has Pierce been married?
Oh,
Number 5, 7, or 11?
I think it's 5.
Okay.
Because he just said in this episode.
Well, we're crushing this. Which of these actors hasn't appeared on the show? John Goodman, Jack Black. I know both of them have been. Owen Wilson and Will Ferrell.
Those are hard ones, those last two. I don't remember either of them.
I feel like I don't remember Will Ferrell. I feel like I'd remember Will Ferrell, and part of me feels like Owen Wilson was. When would have did?
I think Will Ferrell.
Okay,
I trust that.
Who is the statistics professor that Jeff dates? I literally said this earlier.
Oh, Slater.
Yep. What's the Twitter feed of Pierce's quotes called? Things racists say, crusty old dinosaur says, old white man says, or everything you shouldn't say.
I don't know.
I want it to be everything you shouldn't say. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, just click it.
What condition does Chang suffer from in season 4?
I don't
Changxiety, uncontrollable changer, changurism, or changnesia? This is the best show ever. Like, the team doing it, but then everything. In the Pillows and Blankets, like, documentary episode, they were like...
Changnesia. Is that after he becomes a dictator?
That? I don't remember the order.
Right.
But in the Pillows and Blankets episode, they're like, Chang was the security guard, so he wrangled a group of people, and it was like, Chang Glorious Bastards, which is like Inglorious Bastards, but instead of in, it's Chang. And then the voiceover's like, I don't get it either.
So funny.
Who caused the Greendale fire of '03? Pierce, Dean Pelton, Troy, or Annie's boobs?
Annie's boobs.
Really?
I don't know.
Okay. I said Annie's boobs. What is the real name of the corpo humanoid named after Subway? I just saw this. I think. So the options are Rick, Danny, Vaughn, or Ben.
Oh, his real name? I feel like it's Ben.
I was thinking Ben or Rick, but I'll go with Ben if you're feeling that. So it's not Vaughn. Vaughn was that one guy that had the guitar.
Yeah.
It's loading slow. I'm like, how much longer do we have? Who is Troy's hero? Morgan Freeman, Keith David, LeVar Burton, or Bill Cosby?
LeVar?
He shows up on the boat at the end. I hope he's in the movie.
Yeah.
What is the name of Troy and Abed's holodeck-style playroom? The Baller Deck, the Space-Time Continuum, the Gray Space, or the Dreamatorium?
The Dreamatorium?
Yeah. I remember that. What was the cause of Pierce's death?
Read them.
Heart attack, dehydration, stroke, or cancer?
I don't remember.
I know what it is because I watched the episode. It's dehydration from filling up the sperm containers.
Oh my god.
Isn't that insane?
The show's fucking crazy.
Also, before I forget, I was going to tell you another quick piece of trivia, but I just forgot it. I'll let it come back to me. Okay. What is Troy and Abed's favorite movie franchise? Oh, okay, I remembered. Abed loves Cougar Town. And there's an episode where I think they reference him going onto the set of Cougar Town. There's an actual episode of Cougar Town where you can see Danny Pudi in the background.
Stop it. Mm-hmm. That's so funny.
Let's What is Troy and Abed's favorite movie franchise? Reflex, Prejudice, Kick Puncher, Infinite Punishment, or Conquest?
I don't know.
Me neither. I know Inspector Spacetime is their favorite show.
That's funny. I don't know.
I'm going to say Kick Puncher.
Okay.
Don't know why. We scored 68%.
Out of 100%?
100%.
That's not bad.
Okay. Bagel, correct. Keg flip, correct. Okay, it was Intro to Seat Welding was the wrong.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I don't remember the wine tasting one. Annie's boobs, correct. Nicolas Cage, correct. Abed being the only sane one, correct. The kids' names were Elijah and Jordan.
Ugh.
People episode we got wrong. It's awkward.
Embarrassing.
Studies in Modern Movement was probably would have been my second guess, so I guess that was fine. Greendale Flag we got right. Annie's nickname, Annie Adderall. The Moist Tellets. Popping Balloons we got right. Radiohead was the band, not Smash Mouth. Star Wars' real name was right. Pierce was married 7 times.
Okay.
Will Ferrell was right.
Okay.
Professor Slater correct. Old White Man Says is the Twitter thread. Changnesia was right. Mm-hmm. Troy started the fire. That would have been my least guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I was like, Troy's not there. The name was Rick.
Rick.
For the subway guy.
Right, you said Ben or Rick.
Yeah. Troy's hero, LeVar Burton. Dreamatorium, Dehydration. Kick Puncher was right.
Nice.
And that was it.
Wait, we did so. There's no way we got 68%. That's more of like an 80.
Yeah, I don't know how the math is mathing on that one. I guess that's none of my business. But I'm feeling really proud of us and our love for the show. Even though you said you didn't remember a thing, and look at us, we know 68% of what happened on that show.
I'm going to rewatch it, and I'll get back to you.
I know. I'm excited. I want to rewatch it, but I'm like, oh, I guess there's so many other shows.
When I take over this podcast and murder Bree,
and we only talk
it's
about
just a community podcast.
Yeah, Bree brand. Honestly, it's a good show. Like I said, if you haven't seen it, you should see it. I'm trying to think of another quote to end with.
Joy and all that in the morning.
Yeah, I guess we'll see you after Julie watches another 6 seasons and we have a movie. Cool.
Can we clink?
Cool. Oh, should we do what's the handshake where they go?
And then like clap each other?
But they don't touch. They just go like this.
Wait, slow down. That was hard. That was harder than it looks.
Well, everyone, thanks for coming. I think next week is either Heartstopper or Daisy Jones. So Julia and I will not be kissing, but
I'm trying to kiss them. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Don't worry. I'm not trying to kiss
I
Megan
love that.
this time.
So anyway, Payday Bar, and I'm here to say your checks will arrive on another day, Pop.
Pop. This has been another episode of Fighting Crime.
What?
Thanks for listening to our podcast.
Remember to rate, follow, and share with friends.
And find us on TikTok and Instagram at unseriesous to see more content and find out what we're watching next.
We hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye!